to Megan. It's all yours.
Okay, while I am getting everything ready and sharing my screen, if you could, I'd like to direct your attention to the QR code. Try this again. The QR code on the screen and the link in the chat. This will direct you to a packet I have created on Wakelet. Throughout my presentation, you will see a little blue emblem of a W, and that will show you that the resources and content I am covering is also included in that handout. To start off, I'd like to introduce my family and friends and everybody who has taken the time to join me here today. So I have my parents, Bobby and Karen Royer, and my youngest sister, Gracie. My middle sister, Becky, she unfortunately had to work. My big brother, Maurice, I think Quincy and Mike also jumped on, and Maurice's wife, Kaylee. Miss Trudy, a dear friend of mine, and my grandparents, I cannot forget them. And a big shout out to all the kids at the Dairy Barns for letting me come in and take over for a little bit this afternoon. To start off, the making of Miss Royer, I think it's important just to introduce myself. So I was born and raised in Center County, and I've lived in State College my entire life. I've bled blue and white since I was a little girl. And much to my dismay and my parents' excitement, I made my way to Penn State. Through my time at Penn State, I had the amazing opportunity to travel to some of the most beautiful places and get as far away as from Center County as possible. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm the oldest of three girls. So I have a younger sister who is a sophomore at Lock Haven, majoring in health sciences to become a PA. And then my youngest sister, Gracie, is a sophomore at State High in the State College Alliance FFA chapter. So what started it for me all was my best friend getting me a pig. She was spotted and her name was Daisy, and that began the obsession that has brought me in front of you all today. I love pigs, and I've been fortunate enough to exhibit them at the Center County Grange Fair throughout my time in FFA. Along with exhibiting pigs, I was awarded the amazing opportunity to represent the fair as the 2017 Grange Fair Queen. This was a double whammy for me as I loved educating the public, but my family is a fourth generation fairgoer, which means my great-grandparents, my grandparents, my mom and dad, and my sisters all have stayed in the same spot. And it really reinforced that my goal and where I belonged was in agricultural education. And last but not least, as I made my way onto the University Park campus and found my home in Ag Ed, I also found my home as a Teach Ag Avenger. Through the Avengers, I had the amazing opportunity to travel throughout the state of Pennsylvania and on occasion to New Jersey to speak with high school students interested in pursuing a path in agricultural education and to show them the endless opportunities offered to them at Penn State. So as Curry mentioned, there will be three questions I'll be addressing throughout the presentation. The first of which is, who do I aspire to be as a teacher? So with anything in education, especially teachers, they have a philosophy. This embodies the environment within their classroom, what they would like to teach and how they would like to teach it. With anything in Ag Ed, it is found on the basis of the three-circle model, which is supervised agricultural experiences, or SAE, FFA, and classroom instruction. At the bottom of my graphic that you see on the screen is SAE. These are immersive experiences where students can take the content learned in coursework and various lab activities and apply it to something outside of school that is interesting to them. Allow them to deep dive into content areas and occupations that they find interesting and might be willing to pursue beyond high school. Going off of that is FFA, which is a student-run youth organization founded on building leadership skills, the soft and hard skills needed for students to be successful beyond high school. So the two of these together make two of our three-circle model. The last brings me to classroom curiosity. So I want my students to ask me why, ask me the tough questions and question what I'm saying. I want them to ask, why do we do things the way we do, and come up with better and bigger ways to do them. I want them to ask those questions because the best kind of learning is just to continue going down that rabbit hole until you find a bigger and better solution. Going off of that curiosity is individuality. Each one of us is unique in my classroom, and that's what makes learning so great. Hearing each and every one of our perspectives on agriculture, life, and how we've grown up is what allows true growing to occur in my classroom. Together, these 4 leaflets create the successful student that is grown in Ag Ed. With everything going off of my philosophy, it's important to have management and structure in my classroom. First, I'll go over the procedures that I'll be using this spring. So my students are expected to have a charged laptop, arrive on time, complete the bell work, and give 100% and be willing to step out of their comfort zone in everything they do. Last but not least, the teacher dismisses class. Moving on to classroom expectations. So when you are in Miss Royer's room, there are 3 R's I would like you to remember. First is to be ready. What this looks like is finding your seat, putting materials away, turning in your homework, starting bell work, and it should you complete the bell work, discussing the quote of the day with your peers. And secondly is to be respectful. This quite honestly is the most important one in my classroom. This looks like listening quietly while others are talking, being mindful of others' space, being aware of differences and embracing them, and being mindful of the materials in the classroom. And last but not least, be resilient. Ask questions, try and give 100%, and be willing to step out of your comfort zone. So this is something that I'm asking of my students because I know that I will be stepping out of my comfort zone next spring at Athens. I also have been taught my entire life on the ball field or off by my dad to give 100% in everything I do. And I think that's something that my students need to remember as well. Last but not least are classroom consequences. So these align with my cooperating center. So should something occur during class, it will begin with a verbal warning. Please don't do that. That's enough. Let's move on. If it still continues, there will be a meeting between myself and the student as we discuss what has happened and why it is inappropriate. If the action or event still occurs, there will be a call home and the guidance counselor or principal will be notified. And if it still continues, that student will be awarded a detention. And if it still continues after the detention, action will be given to the student based off of the administration's decisions. I hope to not have to use these in the spring, but they are in place should I need them. Going off of my management, if I could, and hopefully soon I will, be able to create my own program, this is a model curriculum that I've come up with. Students will engage in an introductory agricultural course, AF&R, and branching off of that prerequisite in my program, there will be 3 main pathways. First is animal science, then plant science, followed by agricultural mechanics. At any given point beyond the prerequisite of this program, students can interchange the 5 electives you see at the bottom of your screen. Those are international agriculture, agricultural business, food science, dairy science, and agroecology. Focusing further onto our animal science pathway, there are 9 units over 36 weeks of instruction in which students will immerse in. First, they'll start off with animal agriculture, discussing what the animal agricultural industry looks like and various careers that the students could engage with. Then they'll go on to dairy production, beef production, swine production, goat production, sheep production, poultry production, equine science, and companion animals, rounding out the year. A huge component of coursework is giving students the opportunity to take all of the content covered and get their hands dirty. I did this a lot in my AEE 350 course, where I took the content knowledge covered in class about building, taking measurements, square footage, and just the principles of concrete and masonry. And we applied it in those labs. So you'll see the top picture is me measuring out the roof for a doghouse we created. And the second picture is me pouring a mold that my cohort members and I made of a concrete heart. Going off of that lab integration, we were asked this semester to create a $15 project that students can use later in our student teaching experience. So my $15 project I got from my little sister. She created a marshmallow launcher as a part of her class. This project will be implemented in my plumbing unit that I will teach in my Agricultural Mechanics 1 course next spring. So beyond lab integration, it is vital to integrate FFA and SAE into your course. Some courses that I will be teaching this spring are SAE for All, veterinary science, horticulture, agricultural mechanics, and introduction to ag. To integrate FFA, my class will be evaluated on their public speaking skills using the public speaking rubric. They'll be asked to create a floral design, engaging with the floral design competition at state convention. And last but not least, in my ag mechanics course, the students will be asked to operate machinery and will be completing a safe tractor driving course. On the SAE end of things, my students will be engaging with career path goals, personal finance, and research in courses like SAE for All, Veterinary Science, and Introduction to Ag. So with all of this coursework, amazing activities, and labs, it would all be for naught if I did not have students to engage into my classroom or my program. So this little clip that I'm about to play for you, my cohort member Michaela and I created, with the idea that it could be played at the beginning of the school day to entice students to join our FFA club and attend the meeting held at the end of the day. So as vital as it is to create a community in my agricultural education program, it's also just as vital to give back to the community that is so involved in student success. So that is how I plan to give back to my community through a community-based unit of instruction in my veterinary science course. First, my students will engage in a unit lesson focused all on companion animals and service dogs. Once they complete that unit lesson, they will be given the opportunity to engage with a dear friend of mine, Miss Hannah Beredes, as she speaks to us about her daily life with Ginger and what tasks Ginger is trained to do to ensure her safety as she goes to and from class each day. Beyond that, I'll ask Hannah to share about some experiences she's had in public places, as well as some difficulties she's faced as a working parent. And lastly, my students will be asked to create and invite an event and invite community stakeholders to engage and share the importance of working animals. This brings me to my second question. What experiential education opportunities have I engaged in to become a better agricultural educator? So to start off, I've taken a wide variety of courses while at University Park, but three main courses that have impacted me are the AEE 297 course that I took focusing on science, literacy, and agriculture. So Dr. Curry had a very fun time questioning how much we knew and really making us think hard about what we understood as fact when we listened to the TV, watched various video clips, or looked at the internet and saw ads. This questioning of our, I guess, understanding allowed us to gain a perspective beyond what we knew and allowed us to double check and think why we made the decisions in the grocery store to buy certain products or why we vaccinated and chose what vaccinations we got. Going off of that, I took an Ag 160 course focusing on ag ethics and issues in agriculture. This opened my eyes to what it would be like interacting with people who do not have the same experiences as me in agriculture. A lot of times, my cohort member Maddie and I were debating not only with the instructor, but also our peers about the importance of dairy production and crop production and addressing some concerns they had because they simply did not know. Last but not least was my University Park course, which was Geography 30N. This was environment and society in a changing world. I learned things like how much of an impact Smokey the Bear had on forest fires and wildfires, as well as the impacts of recycling and composting in our ever-changing world. When I leave Penn State, I will be graduating not only with a degree in agricultural and extension education, but I will also be graduating with 2 minors, one in leadership development and one in international agriculture. I chose these 2 minors simply first and foremost because the leadership development, I wanted to be able to lead not only in my personal life, in lead society and different organizations as effectively as possible, but I knew that going throughout my life, I've been a role model, not only to my little sisters, but also to my students. And I want to make sure that I'm doing the absolute best that I can. Moving on to the international agricultural side of things, I've lived in Center County a very long time. And though I love Happy Valley, just getting to see something beyond the county was so fascinating and engaging for me. And knowing how much what we do here as far as agriculture affects the rest of the world was fascinating to me. Some certifications that I've completed while at Penn State are OSHA 10 Agriculture, First Aid and CPR certified in both infant and adult. I am National Safe Tractor and Machinery Operation Instructor certified, which means that my students can participate in a course and they will be certified to operate tractors and machinery on an agricultural operation. I've completed the Teach the Forest course through Penn State Extension, as well as the Pesticide PPE course. And through my work at a local daycare, Joy for Kids, I also participated in the Better Kid Care program. This program allowed me to take courses so that I could better understand social, emotional health in students, address students who might be bilingual or just haven't quite learned how to talk yet, and to better understand what I can do to help them navigate life. Last but not least, I am fire safety certified. Some professional development I have participated in as throughout my time at Penn State is the FAST Symposium, the Second Mile Seminar, the NAAE Conference, as well as the PAAE Northern Region meeting. I had the amazing opportunity to travel with the young farmers not once, but twice. The picture you see on the screen is an opportunity that I had to travel to the National Institute in Georgia. It was the first time I'd ever been to Georgia, and the minute I stepped off the plane, it snowed. It was also the very first time I got to hold cotton and see it. I was super excited about that. And last but not least, I've engaged with the Farm Bureau and the local YFNR chapter. Moving on to some professional development I have participated in, I've also been given the opportunity to travel and participate in some pretty amazing internships. So to start off, as a very baby college student, freshman, Curry was crazy enough to take a group of us to Nebraska, where I participated in a NACTA judging contest. That spring, I had the opportunity to travel to the New England region with Dr. Ewing and John Seaman, where I learned about maple syrup production. I learned about urban farming in Boston. And then we also got the chance to travel to Ben & Jerry's, and they showed us how we made they showed us how they made ice cream, which is very similar to how we make it here at Penn State, because they learned how to make ice cream here. Moving on, I had the opportunity to plan a DSA trip to Montana, where I took 18 of my peers to Montana, and we learned about agricultural education in the state, as well as the various agricultural industries. The bottom corner picture, you see me pretty excited because that was me feeding a baby bison. And then that summer, I got the opportunity to serve as an intern for the New York State Association of Agricultural Educators. This was a very unique experience for me, as I created a professional development program for 4 days for ag teachers without any internet or power. So when I say we were off the grid, we were very much so off the grid in the Adirondacks. It was the most immersive and engaging experience I've ever seen. And I also ag ed from a different perspective, as I wasn't teaching students, but rather teachers. I also had the opportunity later in that internship to engage with 2 case institutes, facilitating APT and AFNR alongside my boss. This summer, to round out my internship experience, I was an intern for the Huntington County Extension Agency, and I was an educator. So I taught 4-H camps on Zoom this summer, which was a crazy experience, and I'm forever thankful for my 8 kiddos who showed up every week, day in and day out. But I learned truly how to engage with kids on a digital platform, and I hope to carry that experience with me next spring. So what does it mean when I say agricultural education for all? So my freshman year of college, I had the opportunity to travel to Philadelphia with Dr. Miller Foster as we engaged with a bilingual preschool addressing some cultural and ethnicity difficulties in that area. Students were facing food insecurity simply because of misconceptions that their families had formed, as well as the lack of food offered to them in that area. This was mind-blowing and eye-opening for me, as it's so crazy to think that with so much food coming in and out of the ports, they were struggling to find food to eat. Beyond this experience that opened my eyes, I'm a student that knows what it's like to struggle in a classroom. I was terrified to be called on because I simply could not read the page in front of me, or I could not solve the math problem. This silent struggle, or sometimes public struggle, that I had was fixed, and I was helped through it by a dear teacher, Miss Lego. And I hope that with that experience, I can be that advocate that Miss Lego was always for me, for my students, to know that they are never alone. So to conclude my presentation, my last question I will answer for you today is, how am I prepared to maximize my student teaching internship opportunity? So I'm lucky enough to be student teaching at Athens Area High School with Mr. David Steinfeld and Miss Sarah Beth Aldifer. And while at Athens, they have 2 classrooms, one that is upstairs with Miss Aldifer and one is downstairs with Mr. Steinfeld. They have an amazing shop, a greenhouse with an aquaponics system, and a STEM building that is currently under construction, but will soon house chickens and poultry for the students to interact with. So what are some program strengths at Athens, and what drew me to Athens when selecting a cooperating center? So Athens has amazing SAE implementation. All of their students have a foundational SAE in which they work throughout their career and their ag ed program. They build upon these experiences from freshman year and continue to grow until they graduate. Going off of that is the facilities and the equipment that students have at their fingertips that I hope to take full advantage of this spring. And last but not least, the curriculum and the instruction. Both Mr. Steinfeld and Mrs. Aldifer are incredibly well versed in their content and information, and I hope that not only can I grow from that, but I can take some of it back with me, some of the knowledge that I will gain. And last but not least, the cherry on top, what I think made it so special is it's pretty cool to travel so far away and find another Royer girl. So what does a typical school day look like at Athens? There are 42-minute periods with 9 periods a day. On Thursdays, the schedule is adjusted to have 39-minute periods with an extra period added on the end of the day called WIN, which stands for What I Need. During this time, students are either assigned or go to classes where they might be missing work or need to catch up with that teacher. Currently, I have kiddos virtually learning asynchronously, and learning in person. While at Athens, I will be picking up 6 courses: FFA and SAE, Horticulture, Introduction to Ag, Ag Mechanics 1, Veterinary Science, and Ag Mechanics 2. This is the breakdown of when I will be picking up courses, what units I will be teaching, and in what order I will be picking courses up. So first, I will begin my time at Athens picking up my FFA SAE course, then my Horticulture course, my Intro to Ag course, Ag Mech 1, Veterinary Science, and then I will be rounding out my time with Ag Mech 2. So to keep myself organized and to navigate this crazy semester, I've paid a particular attention to my lesson plans and unit plans. I've spent a lot of time making sure that information flows in an order that not only I can understand, but my students as well. All of those lessons, units, and activities I have created for my students will be put onto Schoolology, which is the program that Athens uses, as well as Teams to make sure that Dr. Ewing and Dr. Curry keep on my toes. And last but not least, I'm a little bit old school and I like to write things down, so I will have a paper planner to come with me everywhere. The picture you see on the screen is my friend Laith. He goes to the daycare that I work at, and his favorite thing to do this fall semester was to watch Miss Megan write unit plans during nap time. Some events throughout the year that Athens would typically partake in, given in a non-COVID world, would be Farm Show, the FFA Lock-In, ACES and SLC, Meet State Officer Night, local and regional LDEs, the Strawberry Sale, the State Officer Candidacy School, the County and Chapter Banquet, State Convention, and Envirothon. So what are my strengths as I enter into this student teaching experience? I would like to say I'm resilient. I quite literally have been knocked on my butt and asked to get back up again. I'm compassionate. I want my students to know how much I care about them inside and outside of the classroom. And I'm patient. I want to work with my students so that they can meet the goals, and I'm willing to stay right there beside them so that they know they have someone to lean on should they need it. Some content areas I'm strong in are plant science, FFA and SAE, construction, specifically woodworking, and livestock animals. Lastly, I have extensive lab experience as I spent some time working at the USDA ARS station here on campus. So what are my goals of student teaching? What do I hope to gain throughout this semester? So first, I'd like to gain confidence in a variety of educational laboratories. So in the classroom, but as well as the shop. I'd like to gain experience with curriculum areas of weakness. So for me specifically, this is my veterinary science course and my ag mechanics courses. I'd like to gain confidence with grant writing and securing funds to help my program run. And last but not least, I'd like to determine and reinforce my career path beyond graduation. So throughout my experiences with Extension and the New York Association of Ag Teachers, I got to experience Ag Ed from a formal and informal setting, which has kind of left me torn. So I'm hoping by the end of this internship, I'll be able to reinforce those goals. So now I would like to thank everyone who has allowed me to chase my dreams and been right there with me. To those of you who have lit this Ag Ed passion inside of me and kept it going. And to those who have been along this crazy Ag Ed journey right there with me. I know some of them aren't here today, but would have given anything to be here. And I'm thankful for all of you because I most definitely would not be Megan, and I simply would not be Miss Royer without all of you. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Megan. Applause preceded my ask for them. You did a great job. We're going to start off the questions now. So again, for the folks in the online community, actually, if you don't mind, Megan, can you stop sharing so that we have a break on the screen?
Yep.
We're going to ask for you to please invite you in the chat box. If you'd like to put those there, that's fine. Otherwise, you can certainly raise your hand and you can ask it orally. I'll start the questions off first, Megan. And my question has to do with, you've obviously, and you demonstrated that you've engaged in a lot of professional development and a lot of opportunities to grow yourself as a teacher during these past 4 years, to which you're commended. You took advantage of a lot of those opportunities, but we also know that journey doesn't stop when you graduate and when you're done with student teaching, and that kind of just begins. So talk to me a little bit about how you grow as a professional. Day one, you get the dream job and you're teaching ag. How do you grow professionally as an educator from that point forward?
So throughout my time at I guess I would say in New York, I interacted a lot with the CASE Institute and CASE curriculum. So I think first and foremost, given the opportunity, I would love to engage with the curriculum because I got to see how hands-on and immersive it is. But also being active in my professional organizations. If I should stay in Pennsylvania, it'd be the PAAE as well as the NAAE. And I would choose to lean on those organizations because not only will they have resources that will help me grow, but also individuals who are much more wiser than I.
Thank you, Megan. We got a few rolling in the chat. We'll start with Sam. Sam asks, what units and lessons are you most excited to teach for next spring?
So the unit and lesson I'm most excited to teach, which is kind of shocking, is that I created a lesson on the endocrine system in my veterinary science course. And I learned how, or found an activity where students will be making different parts out of candy throughout the system. And I think not only will it be fun, because who doesn't love candy, but the hands-on component made a really content writing, reading activity and lesson a little bit more immersive.
Thank you. I'll ask our faculty and staff panel if they'd like to ask a question now, Orly. Go ahead, Beth.
So Megan, great job. And it's been quite the journey to watch you grow and get to this point. So really excited for this. You've had lots of experiences. I know that your own personal experiences with SAE, involve livestock. What are some ideas that you may have for your future students with non-traditional SAEs?
So at Athens, I would say that they have a wide variety of non-traditional SAEs. A lot of their students are work-based SAEs, so they work at different jobs in the community. But also I had the opportunity to participate in an SAE at the USDA ARS research station, where I got to engage in my own research and it got published, which was pretty cool. And so I would like my students to know that whatever they're interested in, I'm willing to work aside them to make that happen, whether that's community service, lab-based research, raising a pig, or simply working in a job.
Mr. Seaman, who has technical difficulties with internet this morning and the snow and the craziness, is asking, of all the experiences you've had, if you could put your finger on one that stands out as the most impactful for your development.
Oh, John, why'd you gotta give me a hard one? I think the most impactful for me was probably planning DSA. I took 18 students to Montana, and I had to create a trip that not only was fun and engaging, but also immersive. And where students were able to not come back with cool pictures and pretty scenery, but also content and experiences and resources that they can use to better themselves in the classroom. So there was a lot of pressure, to say the least. Not to mention I had to get 18 of us to Montana and back in one piece. And we had a little hiccup with an airplane, so there's definitely some concern there, but I learned through all of it and grew and had so much fun.
Sarah Beth has a question, but rather than me trying to murder it, how about we can test that rural internet connection out at the school there and see how good it is, because it has to do with the question itself.
Can you hear me? Yay. Okay, so my question for you is, what are strategies that you can use when teaching with some students who are online and some students who are in person at the same time?
So I was fortunate enough to gain a lot of experience with this throughout the fall semester, as I had some cohort members who were in person during lab and some cohort members who were on the Zoom or the computer. So how I incorporated activities that both students could do was I made things like Menti or SlideGo as a part of my slides, so that students could engage with each other regardless of whether they were in the same room. I also love the swivel because I forget. I would lose my lesson plan all the time, and this handy dandy thing follows me around so the students can see me and hear me, as well as see what's going on in the classroom.
Thanks for sharing.
If that was not already clear, Ms. Aldifer will be the cooperating teacher for Ms. Royer during her student teaching. So we thank her for being here this afternoon and supporting Megan on her journey. Frederick's iPad, I'm not sure who that is, but asks a future career plan question. What are your post-student teaching plans? Are you planning to teach, or what are you wishing to do after graduation?
Well, I don't know. I know it has to do with ag ed, whether I would be in a classroom in a traditional setting or I would be working with some form of a program or company that is engaging with the public and educating them on what they do in the agricultural industry. I know for one thing's for sure, I will not be in Center County, fingers crossed, hopefully. But I would love to engage, and it's kind of wherever life takes me at the moment.
I think I saw a shaking of the head from mom there. I don't know.
Probably.
Dr. Ewing, Carson, anybody else on the faculty panel, if you'd like to ask a question?
Yeah, I can. I'd like to jump in here.
Oh boy.
No. Megan, you did a great recruitment project there. Obviously, with the help of Viewing Films. I like the way you started that out. I didn't know I was in production here, but I guess connecting that to Ag Ed for All and SAE for All and just overall recruitment, I'd like you to put yourself in the shoes of any high school in the state of Pennsylvania, let's just say, because you probably know those the best, or Montana. You did great DSA, some of the schools you visited there. And think about the school population and the population of students that come into your Ag Ed program. And let's just say that the students in your program aren't representative of the students that are in that high school. What are some strategies that you might use to really draw in some of those students that might not feel like Ag Ed is for everybody?
First and foremost, I would have some form of activity or engagement event that's open to the whole school so that students not specifically enrolled in my courses will have the opportunity to engage. I think it's also very important to have people who look like you and think like you or have the same background as you to be showcased during those events. So engaging with different people within the community who might look different from me, but don't necessarily look different from my students. Seeing someone who looks like you shows you not only that, hey, I can do this too. I had that person. I love Mr. Heasley. He's awesome, but I didn't know a girl could be an ag teacher until I met Miss Micah Poorman. So that experience and making sure that kids know that they can do anything they set their mind to, and that there are no barriers in ag. You can do anything. It's not just cows, plows, and sows. You can be a researcher, you can have a doctorate, you can grow flowers, or you can bake. Regardless of what you do, you're in some way connected to the agricultural industry.
All right, thank you for that.
Hi, Megan.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Carson.
Great presentation. So quick question for you. What's the most important thing a student leaving your classroom at the end of the semester takes with them?
This is gonna sound funny, but self-confidence. I learned many things from my ag teacher, many things. But the most important thing that he taught me, which is something that I still struggle with today, is the ability to believe in myself. And I want my students to have that ability. I know Curry has given me the pep talk, as well as the growth mindset speech. And I think that these are invaluable tools that regardless of where my students choose to go beyond high school, that ability to believe in themselves, approach things with a growth mindset, and see how much they can grow day in and day out is a tool vital, regardless of what their career path should be.
That's a great response. Megan, related, Nina is a freshman in our program, and she wants to know what advice you would give to a first-year freshman.
So as a commuter student, my advice to you would be don't go home. This sounds funny, but I love my family and I love my sisters, so I felt obligated to go home. And in doing so, I missed out on some of the experiences where I got to engage with my peers. Jump in, feet forward, and hope you land in everything that you do. It's gotten me to some crazy places. Like I said, I've been to Nebraska, Montana, a whole bunch of states in the northeastern region of the U.S. And if I hadn't just jumped, I can honestly say I don't know if I'd be here today. They reinforced my decision to be an ag teacher. So take every opportunity given to you and do it with a smile.
We'll take any other questions from the audience or from the panel here. Seeing none, I hope you guys will all join me in giving Megan one more big congratulation and applause. She did an awesome job. We're proud of her here in this program and all she's done as a four-year University Park student, and we're excited to see all the amazing things that she will do at Athens High School. So this does conclude the public portion of the presentation. You can hang on just a few more seconds or a minute or so and give her your last minute congratulations and waves and goodbyes. But we will conclude this with a private portion with just the faculty so we can button up some last things with Megan.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Megan, congratulations. Sorry, I was having technical difficulties.
No, you're okay. Thank you.
Super proud of you, and remember your own advice during these questions. Smile, have confidence. You got this. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
See you, Sarah Beth.
You're fine.
Just a few more.
I hope Jimmy's iPad and Sharon and all these other folks aren't offended that I removed them, but
I'm sure
Oh,
they'll be-
no. Sharon's my gram. She definitely couldn't figure out how to do it. And Jimmy was probably dealing with his crazy sons.